I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So you could be successful, you could be living a life that is productive from a world perspective. You could be living a life that's productive even from your personal perspective. But if God isn't in it, it's literally nothing to God. So I started to question a lot of things, right? Because, I would have put these things into planning and I would have prayed about them and through the process met with challenges and was getting a bit discouraged. Because obedience is the fruit of faith. Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Because it doesn't seem like it because things aren't happening the way I would have anticipated that they were happening. We don't know God's timing. Our duty is to be obedient throughout the process. And obedient leads to fruitfulness, or obedient leads to productivity. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the new episode of the Miles High Podcast. As always, the vision and goal of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations you may think exist. Always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right. So I want to talk about a topic that my wife and I was pretty much talking about for the past week, maybe week and a half. I was doing some edits of some resources that we had, and with my edits, I'm able to listen to a lot of the messages that my dad would have taught. And in one of the particular messages, he was speaking on potential, right? And he was talking about, in particular, the message landed on John 15. And man, it struck a chord with me. And I, had a conversation with Sharice about it. And it was something that I wanted to bring to the pod because it wasn't something that I hadn't heard before. But, being reminded of it, it brought a sense of peace into some of the things that I was dealing with, or that I am dealing with at the moment. It just brought a lot of clarity as to why things may happen or not happen or be happening the way that they're happening, the challenges that we may face. So I want to start with reading a portion of John 15, right? So let's start at John 15. Let's start at verse 4. So it says, "Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourself to be my disciples." Last three verses. "As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remained in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete." Man, I must say, I read this verse and just so many things jumped out at me, right? Because the sense of us, we've heard this verse before. If you abide in me and my word abides in you, ask anything and it will be done by my Father in heaven, right? So abiding in God, it leads to the success that we want to achieve in life, right? The key factor to our success is us abiding in God. The world, I've said this before, the world defines success using metrics, right? And some of those metrics are, the money we have, the houses we live in, the cars we drive. But to me, the true success is defined with obedience, and being fruitful, right, or being productive. And I've kind of explained what being fruitful means, right, going back to Genesis 1, verse 28. It's productivity, right, and a portion of that, or the main portion of that, is tied to us being obedient. Um, the teaching that I was referring to, my dad, in John 15 it says, "Without me, you can do nothing." And again, this is a verse that I've heard a million times, but this time it struck in a different way, because it's not to say that we can't do things, right? It's not to say that we're not going to accomplish things, right? So what I got from this verse in this season of my life is, when God says, "Without me, you can do nothing," it means that even if you're doing something without God, it's nothing to him, right? So you could be successful, you could be living a life that is productive from a world perspective. You could be living a life that's productive even from your personal perspective. But if God isn't in it, regardless of how much success you've attained or how great this thing is that you're doing, it's literally nothing to God, because he isn't involved in it. So when that verse, "Without me you can do nothing," I just took that as, man, even when we're doing things, if God is involved, what is it really like? What's the point of it? What's the purpose of it? And for me, I always not only want to be productive, right, but I want to be productive in the right things, right? I don't want to just be doing things and producing things because it's there to do, or because I have an idea and I want to go at it, right? Because there are a lot of ideas that I come across, at least I come across my mind, or I have the intentions of creating or bringing to reality. And then, I may get halfway through the process, or I may get completely through the process and realize, man, this was something that, wasn't God-centered, or just doesn't make sense, or just doesn't fulfill me the way other things would, right? I'm just taking advantage of an opportunity because the opportunity is there, but it's empty, and I think this verse that just says, "Without me, you can do nothing." I think our desire or our goals should always be to be productive in the right things, right? I think we can be productive in many things, right? There's no telling what it is that we are able to be productive in, but being productive in the right things, I feel, is most important. I said Sharice and I had this conversation because I was talking about some challenges that I was facing with some of the business ventures that I had on my list, right? My goals for this year, and a lot of them, the genesis of them started from January of this year. And, a lot of them ran into some challenges and, out of my control, nothing that I could have anticipated, even though, challenges should be expected. It's just that these were things that wasn't in my realm of control, right? It was just one of those things where I had to wait until it sorted itself out. So I started to question a lot of things, right? Because, I would have put these things into planning, and I would have prayed about them and gotten an okay, and gotten felt at peace, right? God would have responded and been like, "Yo, this is what I want you to do. This is how you should do it." And I, went about kind of doing that. And, through the process, met with challenges and was getting a bit discouraged. And then, I was listening to this message, and John 15 popped out, and was like, man, if my word abides in you and you in me, ask anything and it will be done according to my Father's will, right? And so the onus is on us to just continue to be obedient, right? Continue to be obedient to the instructions we were given, to the vision that God has placed on our lives, to the purpose that we have discovered, using the skills that we have. Obedience is key, right? Because obedience is the fruit of faith. Man, that really hits home, because, we can have faith, and it's easy. Well, I shouldn't even say it's easy to have faith, right? Once you mature to a certain level in your spirituality, faith becomes easy, right? But at that point, there are still challenges that you're going to face. There's still setbacks that you're going to see in your way. And the question is, like, what are you going to do when those things come? Like, are you going to change course? Are you going to remain on course and be obedient, right? And that's part of the conversation that Sharice and I was having, right? She was, I mean, I was kind of telling her, like, man, you know, all these challenges and stuff that I was facing, like, I'm questioning now my decisions, questioning these plans that I put in place. Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, because it doesn't seem like it, because things aren't happening the way I would have anticipated that they were happening. And I was just reminded of just continuing to be obedient, right? Continuing to be obedient in this, even through the challenges, right? Because, you know, when you think of Noah, right? You know, in the scriptures, it talks about, you know, God coming to Noah and telling Noah that he wanted him to build this ark because he was going to send rain on the earth. And he wanted Noah to build the ark big enough to carry him and his family and every male and female of each animal that exists, and anyone else that wanted to come on the ark, they would have been welcomed as well. So just imagine, you know, God going to Noah and saying, giving him these instructions, saying he's going to bring rain on the earth, and he wanted him to build this ark and gave him the measurements to build the ark. And Noah commenced on this project of building this ark, and, you know, going around telling persons in his community, in the neighborhoods, in the surrounding communities, in the neighborhoods, just saying, you know, hey, rain is coming. I want you guys to join me on this ark so that we can be saved, right? And, you know, at that point in time, there wasn't much rain, if any, that was experienced on the earth, right? So people were looking at Noah like he was crazy. I want to introduce you to the Monroe Global app, the ultimate platform to empower your leadership journey and inspire your purpose-filled life. Access timeless teachings designed to help you grow in every area of your life. From leadership development to personal growth, Monroe Global has it all at your fingertips. With the Monroe Global app, you'll have exclusive access to powerful videos and messages from the legendary Dr. Miles Monroe, a digital library packed with life-changing content right at your fingertips, and a vibrant global community of visionaries, leaders, and change makers just like you. Whether you're at home, on the go, or in the office, the Monroe Global app ensures you never miss an opportunity to learn, grow, and lead. Available now on Google Play and the Apple App Store, the Monroe Global app is your gateway to unlocking your potential and impacting your world. Download the Monroe Global app today and take the first steps toward living the life you were born to lead. Right? And years went by, right? 1 year went by, 2 years went by, 3 years went by, 10 years went by, 20 years went by. And I look at Noah's story and I just put it in like 2025, right? The year we're in. Imagine God speaking to you or me and saying, like, this is what he wants to do and these are the things, these are the plans that he had. Or imagine 5 years ago, God gave you a word and you're saying, man, God gave me this word, or I saw this vision for myself 5 years ago and I've yet to see it come to pass, right? And you start to question, like, man, did I hear right? Is this something that is actually going to happen? Man, how can I make sense of this, right? And you think of the story of Noah. You know, there's really no definitive amount of years that passed between God telling Noah to build the ark and rain actually coming. But, you know, based off of, you know, different timelines and storylines, we can predict that it's anywhere between 55 and 75 years after. So God told Noah, hey, I want you to build this ark. And between 55 to 75 years later, that's when the rain came. Now imagine Noah, right, building this ark for 75 years. Let's just go to the max amount of time, right? 75 years you building this ark. You saying, man, God gave me a word 75 years ago. It's yet to come to pass. What do I do? Noah remained obedient, right? And, you know, when the time was right, rain came, and Noah and his family was saved because of his obedience. And man, that just struck home with me, right? In the conversations again that I was having with Sharice and just telling her, you know, It's we trying times, challenges, obstacles. It's almost should be expected, right? But sometimes they come and you're just not like, man, this happened so quickly, right? So immediate. It wasn't it, even though I may expect it to happen, right? I don't expect it to be like this soon, maybe, right? But there's no telling when things happen or when they shouldn't happen. So, it discourages you a bit, and I started to question and just wonder, like, man, does this make sense? Am I doing, is this like, did I hear the right word? Did I hear God properly? Did I really understand what it was or what it is that he's saying? um and then you think of Noah and you'd be like, man, you know this guy had to wait 55 to 75 years until what God told him came to pass. So imagine the ridicule, the shame, uh, the people around him that was just being like, saying how crazy he was because he's building this big ark and ain't no rain clouds in sight. There's no water anywhere, but you building this boat that's supposed to be floating on water, right? 75 years, like that's a long time. And man, to continue to be obedient even through that process, right? That just shows the type of obedience we need to have, right? And the productivity that it can yield, I think should be the focus. And then I think of like Joseph, right? The story of Joseph. As a young boy, Joseph was given vision of him, being a ruler or being a king, or, governing over his brothers, governing over his father, his parents. And, Joseph would have these dreams as a young boy and would tell his brothers, like, yo, I had these dreams of you guys bowing down to me, right? And he's the youngest of all his brothers, and just imagine his brothers looking at him like, yo, what are you, my younger brother, telling me right now? Like, you're gonna be ruler over me. And they chastised him, ridiculed him, mocked him. Even his father rebuked him, like when he told him his dreams, right? It got to the point where, man, his brothers uh, got so envious of him that they, conjured this plan to first of all, they conjured the plan to kill him, right? But eventually they decided to just throw him in a ditch, and then they decided to sell him into a slave trade. And that chain that created this whole domino effect for Joseph, if you will. He went from this being sold into the slave trade to being sold to the king of Egypt, to working in the king of Egypt's castle, to being accused of rape, to being thrown in prison, to assisting to assisting in the work of the prison and helping individuals as they came through. Two individuals, in fact. One was the cupbearer, one was the I think it was the bread maker, who both had dreams. Joseph told them their dreams. One was favorable, one was not. But regardless, the dreams came to pass. At least what the meaning of the dreams came to pass. The cupbearer lived, went on, forgot about Joseph for a period of time. Then the king himself had a dream. The cupbearer remembered, oh, when I had a dream, I had this guy in prison who told me my dream. The dream came true. Yo, king, let me call Joseph for you so he could do this. And it took all of that for Joseph now to be able to tell the king, what this dream means. Talked about the famine, gave him instructions on what to do. The king saw that all of this came to pass and made Joseph ruler over the nation, right? So again, Joseph went from a boy with those visions and the dreams that, he was going to be ruler, and had to go through a lot of turmoil, right? A lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles. And it was like, man, how do you stay positive in those situations, right? You get thrown in prison for being lied on. You get forgotten by folks you've assisted. You get discarded by your own family, your own flesh and blood, right? They mocked you and they sold you out for pennies, right? All because of a vision or goal that you had or that you have in your life. So if it could happen to Joseph, it could happen to any of us, right? And I think these stories that we hear and we read, or we've been reading all our lives, I think they are supposed to be able to help us in real time, right? To bring just to bring some normalcies to the experiences that we have, even in today, right? Today and now, the challenges that we face, the setbacks that we face. Even the time lapses that we face, right? When things don't happen when we feel that they should, because we felt that God directly spoke to us and, these things should be happening because this is what he said. But, it's not up to us to determine the time, right? God's time is his own time. I shared with Sharice again, like, a year to us could be a day to God, right? 10 days to us could be a month to, 10 years to us could be a month to God. Like, we don't know God's timing. Our duty is to be obedient throughout the process. And obedient leads to fruitfulness, or obedient leads to productivity. John 15, 7 says, and I want to kind of focus or highlight this verse in particular. It says, if you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. And, a lot of people just skip to the part of the verse that says, ask whatever you wish and it will be done, right? But, the key to it, right? The key principle to that verse is remaining in me and I in you. So I think our heart should be focused on God at all times, on his word, on the things that he's trying to teach us and have been trying to teach us all these years and all this time that we've been here in our personal lives, right? Everything we've learned, everything that we go through, everything that we experience in life, I truly feel it's for a reason, right? It's to teach us something, right? We're supposed to gain some type of information, some type of knowledge, some type of understanding through everything that we go through. And I think it's to our best interest to understand what it is that we're supposed to learn in every season of our lives, right? Because aligning with God, he provides everything that we need, and the things that we accomplish, right? Even if no, it doesn't matter how successful it is, how good it is, if it's not in God, it's nothing to him, right? It could be successful to the world, successful to our friends, successful to ourselves even at times, right? But if it doesn't have God, right? Because he says without him we can do nothing. So even the something that we do is still nothing to him. So there's still going to be a sense of emptiness that we feel, right? Because success in God's eyes is fulfilling the purpose that he has given to us in our lives, right? Or the vision that he has shown us, accomplishing that vision. That's success. That's true success. Success has nothing to do with what the world says, what our parents say, what our friends say. Success is, man, what is it that I have on the inside of me, and how successful have I been bringing that to reality? And I feel like if we just kind of look at life from those lens, right, from a perspective of a knowledge that, man, if our creator isn't involved in the things that I do, am I really doing something that's worthwhile, right? Am I really affecting the way that I should be affecting? Am I empowering the way I should be empowering? And I think, if we can start to ask ourselves those questions, then the focus on what we do will be placed on the impact that it has and the areas that that impact happens, versus how it makes us feel or how it looks from a success standpoint, right? Because you could have all the money in the world and still feel empty because God isn't in it. So that's my encouragement for you today, just to continue to be obedient, right? To stay the course, regardless of the challenges, regardless of the setbacks, even regardless of the delay you may think you're experiencing, right? Thinking, man, it's taking a day, it's taking a year, it's taking 10 years. Man, God gave me this word 10 years ago. I haven't experienced the fruitfulness of that word yet. Did I hear him right? Is it something that I need to do or want to do?
Your manager wants to speak.
My baby wants to say something.
So with this topic, like how you stated that about God's timing, and sometimes when we try to jumpstart God's timing, it doesn't always work out. And using our own situation and our own baby girl as a kind of example, I wanted things to go in my timing during our journey, and it wasn't meant to be that way. And I firmly believe that it was meant to be on God's timing, because our story, yes, Mom? Our story helped someone else who was in need of, some sort of testimony.
Mhm.
And I strongly believe that way. So, but my question to you is, what does one do in the meantime of waiting? And how do you stay obedient to God's?
Great question.
Do you feel like there's more to life than what you're experiencing? That deep down, you're meant for something greater? It's time to stop wondering and start discovering. At the Monroe Institute of Leadership, we believe every person carries a unique purpose, a calling designed specifically for you. Our transformative courses, Discover Purpose and Unlock Your Potential, are crafted to help you uncover that purpose and equip you with the tools to step confidently into your destiny. These powerful courses are for leaders, entrepreneurs, students, and visionaries like you. Through proven principles and actionable insights, you will clarify your vision and set bold goals. You will identify your strengths and passions. You will overcome the barriers holding you back, and you will step boldly into your God-given potential. Our expert facilitators draw from timeless and tested principles, blending practical strategies with kingdom truths to empower you to lead a life of purpose, impact, and transformation. The world needs what you have to offer. Don't let another day pass without unlocking the greatness within you. Visit our website, themill.org, and register today. The Monroe Institute of Leadership. Renew your mind and transform a generation.
On my last pod, I had a guest, Mark Thompson, and he spoke about, when he was, he had gotten a word that he, was granted to be the owner operator of one of the Chick-fil-A franchises. And, they had a plan for everything to happen. He was going to open at a certain date, launch the business, and everything was falling into place. But things didn't go according to plan. And he said during that time, right, when things wasn't happening, he was productive in his waiting. And I think that's all we can do, right? We have to be productive. Even if that we experience in delay, like there's productivity to be had. So in the story of Noah, right? Noah waited 55 to 75 years before the rains came. But Noah didn't stop being productive. Noah continued to build the ark, continued to tell people, continued to gather the animals that he was instructed to, continued to raise his family, right? Continued life. Nothing stopped because the time passed, or there was a delay in what he felt, or what he may have felt should have been the establishment of God's word. So, during your waiting, be productive. I think that's great. That's the best advice that I can give. Because again, it's not in our time, right? It's not the time that we think should happen or things should happen. It's essentially, man, what divinely is supposed to happen and when it's supposed to happen. Like Sharice referred to us, I should say her, wanting to have kids or have this kid at a certain time, and like trying to be like forceful with it and be like, yo, we could do this today, this could happen today. And from me actively started trying to have a kid, it was almost like 12 months to the day that we kind of started, right? And it's crazy because during that whole 12-month period, like I would try to hint to her like, yo, let's just let things happen as they should happen. Let's not try to force it. And I think even through the process, right, there's a lesson in that. And like she said, like our testimony is and has been able to help others, right, in their challenges and their experiences. And like I say, I don't think anything happens for granted. I don't take anything for granted, right? The things that happen to me, I think there's always a lesson in everything that we experience. And if the lesson isn't for us, the lesson is for someone else, right? And it's just our job to say and name our testimony throughout that process. So yeah, that's my challenge for you, just to remain productive, right? Regardless of those challenges, regardless of the delays, continue to be productive, continue to be obedient, because again, obedience is the fruit of faith. And once we continue to have faith, in that faith, we breeds obedience, and that obedience breeds fruit. Yeah, go ahead.
So my next question is, that there are some people who are highly successful in life. They have these great jobs, but they're not fulfilled, but they don't know why they're not fulfilled. And many times, they're not of the kingdom mindset So what does someone do in that position where, well, I don't know why I'm so empty, or even though I've achieved all this success, like, how do we kind of nudge them in the direction to say, well, maybe this is why, you're feeling that way. Have you thought about Jesus?
But I mean, it's even a little more than that, right? It has a lot to do with purpose. And like I say, like anything, so because our creator is a creator of purpose. He creates everything with purpose, right? So we all were created for a specific reason. And until we could discover that why, to answer that why for our lives, anything we do isn't going to feel complete, or is going to be a fulfilling feeling to us, right? Like it says where, the scriptures say, without me, you can do nothing. I think that's exactly what it is. Like without me, without your purpose, or without discovering your purpose, regardless of what you achieve, it's going to be nothing, because it's not it's not done in the purpose that you were destined or predestined to do. So feeling unfulfilled is directly tied to it not being purposeful, because nothing purposeful is going to feel empty at all. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is that you're doing. I don't care what the success rate is, or how successful it is, or who it impacts. As long as purpose is involved, it's going to feel fulfilling. Because, a lot of the times, like, some people do things because they see others doing it, or it's a good idea, and, they see an opportunity for them to make a bag or and whatnot. But, and that's all great, right? But at the end of the day, like, is it fulfilling, right? Do you feel purposeful in those actions?
And that reminds me of people who are always chasing the next thing because there's no fulfillment. It's like, what next? What next? They always chasing the next
and it's
high,
like
so to speak.
Exactly. It's like chasing a high, right? You achieve a level of success, and it makes you feel a certain way. And if there's no purpose involved, the only fulfilling thing for you is to then, okay, I need to get this high again. I need to feel this high again. But if purpose is involved, right? Even if you're not successful in it, right? Because purpose was in it, regardless of the outcome, the journey is fulfilling, right? Because it's you're on your purpose journey. So I think, again, continuing to be productive, continuing to be obedient, it's going to lead to being fruitful and being to achieving the success that we are supposed to achieve, but with purpose involved. All right. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Hopefully that's an encouragement to someone out there. Any challenges that you may be facing, just know that it's a part of the journey. All right. The delay is a part of what it is that you are supposed to be going through, because that delay is supposed to be some sort of lesson or some sort of skill that you're supposed to be developing during that period. So, while you're in a holding pattern, like Mark said, even if you're in a delay, be productive during that waiting period, right? Even though you're in that holding pattern, continue to be productive, because that productivity is going to lead to, you being productive is going to lead to productivity once, that plane lands, and once everything works out and you're starting to move on with that journey. All right, so that brings me to the milestone that I want to leave with you for today. And, this milestone is tied into what I was talking to. It was another revelation that I got in reading this chapter in John 15. And so this milestone starts at John 15, verse 9. We're going from 9 to 11, all right? As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. Verse 11 is the key. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Man, I tell you, when I read that verse, that part of like joy, right? And we try to answer like, man, where should my joy come from, or where is my joy found? I think this verse says it all, right? it says that Jesus is saying that I'm telling you to remain in me, right? Keep me the center of your life. Stay attached to me. Stay focused on the word and the vision that I have given you. Once you continue to do that, it says, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Our joy is complete when our Creator's joy is within us. And the way that that happens is for us to keep his commands and remain in his love. That's the encouragement I have for everyone today. Like, remain in God, because without him, we can do nothing. And even if we're doing something, it's nothing to him. So remain in his love, and that's the way you're going to find joy, right? Because our joy comes from being fulfilled or fulfilling what it is that he has sent us to fulfill. All right. So that brings us to the end of this episode, this particular pod. Hopefully I spoke to someone out there. I always want to be an encouragement, all because, the purpose of this pod is to entertain, educate, and elevate you as much as I can above all of the obstacles that you think may exist, right? The setbacks that you may have. But just know that any challenge, setbacks, obstacles that you think you're facing, it's all in your mind, right? Because there's a lesson that we're supposed to get out of each and every experience that we have in life. All right. So until next time, you guys stay blessed.